what is a better option? Buying a laundromat for 500,000 or putting down 500,000 on a $2 million laundromat and financing the rest?
That's a good question. And I think, I mean, the answer is the same as the answer to every question is it depends. What you're looking for. I'll give you my opinion. I'm just curious, anybody else have an opinion on this?
Yeah, I think just to jump in real quick, Jordan, I'd say it comes down to appetite for risk. Like if you're doing 75% leverage, with something that, that's substantial, especially being new to the industry, I think that would be, you'd have to be really confident, I think, knowing that you can manage that operation to make sure that you make the payments on that. I think plus it for a $2 million laundromat, that's going to be a decent scale. Like that's going to be pretty big. So personally, I would be outside my comfort zone right now, being only 6 months in the industry for sure.
That being said, I take in consideration to cover it together with the cash flow. My point is just, I'm designating this amount of money. Should I play like pennies? Or if you take the same money and just get it rolling and do it. It's the same. It's not like I'm going to be putting on my pocket more.
So I was just going to say too, there is a management organizational learning curve that I think it's a lot of work. So I'm not trying to say no. Like I'm definitely not trying to say no. I think because like Jordan says, it depends on the business. But I think as an experienced laundromat owner, it would be definitely an easier call. As a new laundromat owner, there's definitely a big learning curve. But that to say, there's lots of resources, of course. So yeah. Anyways, I'm curious to see what you'd have to say, Jordan.
Well, I just want to give anybody else an opportunity because there's a lot of different ways to kind of think about this. So I'll give it a second. If anybody else wants to share what they think, then I'll share my thoughts.
There is also the opportunity to break up that 500,000 and buy multiple locations, and then you can sort of diversify geographically. You could potentially serve different sections of the same community or serve multiple communities. Maybe you could fulfill, if one has more space, you could maybe move fulfillment to one, or just set aside some money to do upgrades on an existing laundromat, and then you already have cash ready to go to build out a dedicated fulfillment facility if you start building out your wash and fold operation. It sounds like there's lots of different things. If you've got the capital to invest, you could spread it around as well.
Yeah. So I'll share my opinion on this is, like I said, it depends. It depends on what exactly you're looking for. When it comes to returns, as long as you use the leverage appropriately and assuming the things you know about each business are correct, you're going to get a higher return using leverage, right? But with that comes, I hesitate to say higher risk because actually my opinion is you actually risk less when you use more leverage because you're sharing that risk with somebody else who's putting money in that deal. Now, obviously there's more responsibility. I don't know about more responsibility, but you're responsible for somebody else's money at that point too. And so I guess depending on how you feel about that, if it were me, I would probably leverage it. If I was advising somebody new, I guess it would depend a little bit on who I was talking to and how much experience they have in business in general and, all that stuff. But I think with some guidance, you could do it and leverage it, that $2 million one. But I also might tell a certain client, hey, why don't we get a smaller one for the first one and make sure you like the business and make sure this is the direction that you want to go. And if it is, let's go full bore and go get that $2 million one. I think if you're going to buy a $2 million laundromat or you're going to buy a $500,000 laundromat, if they're offering the same services, I actually think the management is only marginally greater in that $2 million one than it is in that $500,000 one. So I don't think it's necessarily a simpler business to start, especially if they're both offering the same services. It's not a simpler business to do the $500,000 versus the $2 million. You're just doing a higher volume, and you might have some more employees to manage, but you probably also have higher margins to hire another tier of management to help you manage those employees on that $2 million one. So for the right person in the right scenario, I would say leverage the money and go for the $2 million one.